When most runners think about strength training, they envision a barbell back squat with lots and lots of weight. Squatting can be intimidating. This often causes runners to avoid squatting altogether for fear of getting hurt or having so much soreness that they can't complete their runs for the week. Today, I'm going to break down the pros and cons of squatting, the different variations that exist and their different goals, and how to progress runners from introductory exercises to more advanced techniques. Let's get into it. First, we should define what a squat is. A squat is a type of exercise that forces you to crouch down towards the ground, engaging hip flexion, knee flexion, and ankle dorsiflexion. This is often in contrast to a deadlift or hip hinge movement that forces you to move more from the hip. A squat forces us to get shorter, while a deadlift forces us to get longer, something I broke down in my last video going through the deadlift. And a squat is actually a broad category of many different exercises. Functionally, a squat is a knee-dominant movement pattern that loads the anterior thigh. Squatting targets your quadriceps muscles, an important muscle for absorbing the impact of every foot strike when you run. Practically, we can break squatting down into two different categories: bilateral variations and unilateral or single leg variations, each accomplishing different things. Bilateral variations can include things like goblet squats, front squats, Zercher squats, and barbell back squats. These two-legged variations give us a wider base of support, which makes it much easier to progressively put more weight onto the movement. Bilateral squatting variations are designed to improve strength. Single leg variations are slightly different as they focus more on control and precision while moving on one leg. When on one leg, we naturally have a smaller base of support, which means it's more challenging to put weight onto that movement. Single leg variations also force us to not hide compensations, while when we have 2 feet on the ground, it might be easy to put a slight bit more weight on one leg versus the other. It's often helpful to incorporate variations in both of these categories to both improve strength and control while moving through a knee-dominant pattern. Your skeleton responds really well to increasing strain magnitude or the amount of strain placed on your bones. Think more weight on the bar. So if a runner is looking to improve the strength and fracture resistance of their spine, pelvis, or femur, bilateral variations incorporating more weight can be really helpful. As a clinician, this can be very helpful toward the end of rehabbing a bone stress injury in the pelvis, sacrum, femur, or lumbar spine. Squatting variations can also be a crucial component of someone's rehab when dealing with many common running-related injuries. Knee pain is the most common injury a runner will sustain, and improving a runner's ability to tolerate loading through the knee is often a crucial component of their rehab. Whether a runner has been dealing with pain from their kneecap, their patella tendon, their IT band, or a structure within their knee, squatting is often an important component of a comprehensive rehab plan. Incorporating squatting can be very beneficial, but it does come with some potential downsides. When implementing squatting, there should be a steady progression of weight, speed of movement, or control, depending on the goal of the individual. You shouldn't just go to your local gym, throw a bunch of weight on the bar, and hope for the best. This is bringing back visions of lifting in a high school weight room. Hasty progressions in the weight room, without focusing on proper form, can get you hurt. The second most common error: poor planning around running. When a runner is training for competition, running is the priority. Strength training and any kind of supplemental exercise should only help complement their training. That means we need to plan when we're going to implement squatting around when someone's hard sessions are for the week. Ideally, we're going to incorporate our lifting sessions far away from someone's track workout and their long run, and making sure that anything we implement in the weight room doesn't leave them too sore to complete their scheduled sessions. It's much easier to start squatting in the off season, something we'll come back to in a little bit. Common error 3, too much focus on the large range of motion. Exercises incorporating a large range of motion at the knee, how you implement, progress, and plan exercise into a runner's routine can absolutely wreck their training, and it can get them hurt. I see many runners that will come to me with a diagnosis of knee pain that have been attempting to implement these large ranges of motion through lunges and single leg squats and other variations that not only don't help their performance, it gets them hurt. And being able to show up and train consistently is the most important thing for a runner. Now, if someone loves doing exercises like this and it doesn't cause them pain, they can absolutely perform them. I just don't see that much in my practice. And truthfully, you don't need a large range of motion at the knee to be able to run. If we look at this seminal paper that examined the range of motion requirements for running, you need about 45 degrees during mid stance and about 90 degrees during swing phase when you're their foot is off the ground. And we know that squatting variations done through a partial range of motion can still be great at improving strength, power, and endurance. So if running doesn't require a large range of motion, and we know you don't need a large range of motion with your squatting to improve strength, I'm not going to use these exercises with my patients and clients. Now let's go through how to practically implement this into someone's plan. I'll often include 2 lifting sessions during a runner's training week. One focused on a heavier bilateral squatting variation, with the other focused on a single leg variation working on control. We will often pair these with our deadlift so that our heavier squat variation goes with a single leg deadlift, and our single leg squat session goes with a heavier bilateral deadlift. And again, we'll try to complete that heavier squatting session far away from someone's workout or long run. And there are simple progressions for advancing both bilateral and single leg variations. I'll often start runners with a simple PVC squat, focusing on keeping even pressure throughout their entire foot and going through a comfortable range of motion. Once a runner is comfortable with this introductory variation, we'll progress to a goblet squat with a weight in the front. That can be either a kettlebell or a dumbbell and should progressively get heavier every week or 2. We will anchor our sets and reps at 3 sets of 8 to 10, focusing on increasing that weight by 5 to 10 pounds every week or 2. At some point, we will run out of dumbbells, or the act of getting the dumbbell into that position is more challenging than the exercise. That's when we progress to a front squat. The benefit of a front squat is that it doesn't require as much grip strength. It does require a barbell or a squat rack. So if we're not looking to progress to a front squat, we will go to a rear foot elevated split squat. Now, as a sidebar, these are often categorized as a single leg exercise, but anybody who's ever performed these knows that that back leg does do a little bit of work, so we're gonna put these in the bilateral category for today. So if a runner doesn't have access to a squat rack or a barbell, we'll focus on increasing the weight of their rear foot elevated split squat. They should be able to complete all repetitions with good form, but that last rep should feel challenging but doable. My end goal for all my runners is that they can get to 5 repetitions of a front squat with their body weight, and they're able to perform rear foot elevated split squats with half their body weight using the right leg and half their body weight using the left leg. When progressing our single leg variations, we're focusing more on control and precision of movement. I will regularly start runners with marching, then progressing to step ups, then to step downs, and then to either squat blocks or a single leg squat to press, with the focus on being as controlled as possible throughout the entire movement. I'll coach the athletes to maintain even pressure throughout their foot and trying to avoid gripping their toes. Ideally, we implement these squatting variations in someone's off season so we can build strength and control, and then focus on maintaining that strength as they move through the competitive season. For a high school or college runner, it's best to implement these in the week or 2 following their last spring track race and build that strength over the summer. For adults, it's helpful to start implementing these around 20 weeks out of their big race for the year. That means that as they get into the heart of training, we can take the volume of lifting down a little bit and try to maintain that strength as they peak their fitness. Squat type exercises are excellent for runners progressing back from injury or looking to improve their strength and performance. My hope is this video gives you some practical insight in how to implement this with your runners.